and welcome to the Josilyn Drake Show. I am your host, Josilyn Drake. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited about our guest on today. I have with us Miss Pamela Woods with Family Life Enrichment Consultant. She has a very powerful story about how her business began to flourish and what brought her to this point. More than anything, what I'm excited about talking with her about is about our children. They are our most prized possessions. And so having someone to help us navigate through life in this different climate, different culture, different traditions, different viewpoints that we have on today, many vast opinions. I'm excited to bring this guest on to kind of help us see our children, see our parenting skills from a totally different viewpoint. Me personally, I've raised my kids, I have adult kids, but I love our youth. I love our young people. I am tremendously invested in their lives. I think not only are they the most prized possessions of a family, they're the most prized possessions of a community, of a neighborhood, of a city, and of a nation, and in fact, of this world. So will you please help me welcome to the Josilyn Drake Show, Miss Pamela Woods. Hi, Pam. Thank you so much for tuning in and thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us about this very all important subject, our children.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself? I know you shared with me your powerful story. Could you please tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I am a Tennessean. I'm a native Tennessean, born and bred from West Tennessee, Jackson, Tennessee. And I left high school to join the Army after college. So as a military police officer, which I was just determined I was going to be, I got into understanding on a more personal level family dynamics. And that's how I got interested in families. And of course, as a military police and a black female police, when it comes to responding to domestic violence incidents or intimate partner violence incidents, you get a very visceral understanding of the dynamics of different relationships. But my concern always in the first response was the children. And seeing how angry our children were becoming, and seeing and knowing, not just seeing, but knowing how precious this gift was. We had to do better. And I consider myself not only a staunch advocate for children, but I like to give children voice. So that's the approach I take in my practice. It is the child's voice that I'm listening for. Mm-hmm. And I am the conduit to help the parent understand what the child is trying to say. Because we're not born with these skills. You have successfully raised your children. Many parents have successfully raised their children, but this was strictly by the grace of God. Because we don't get these skills anywhere in our education. We don't get the skills to become the parents that God intends us to be. And parent education is the way to do that. You and I both had to read a book, and we had to take a test, and we had to pass a test to just be licensed to drive a car. But we didn't have to do any of that to be mothers. And that's the most important role that we have, with no training.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You went straight to it. You went straight to the point. Can you tell us what brought you to this place where now you are not only doing this from Tennessee or from a national level, you're globally impacting parents all over the world and giving insight on how to hear that voice of the children and more than anything to honor a voice. We've never been taught that the importance of honoring the voice of the children. I know in different cultures, we see different things. I know especially in the African American culture, we were just taught a child's voice is invalid. A child's voice is not to be heard. go sit down somewhere, do what I told you to do. And it just really, I think from a lack of knowledge, just some things that were kind of passed down through generations. It doesn't happen in other cultures. I think some of the cultures I've seen, they honor the voice of their children. And so I thank you for wanting to teach us what that looks like. And I'm excited for you sharing, but can you kind of tell us like what got you to this point? What happened in your life? I know you were telling me that there was a traumatic experience that happened that you just had to make a shift. It was a necessary thing for you to do. And looking back on it today, we are appreciative that you did. But can you tell us a little bit about that story?
The thing that caused this shift was actually the day after the Luby mass shooting. I was an active duty military police officer serving in a criminal investigations assignment. And there was a child who was gunned down, who was murdered on a bus stop for a starter jacket. And so this was born out of pain. I mean, this was just truly born out of pain. The day before was someone who was hurting so badly that they took others' lives. And then the next day, another somebody who was hurting so badly that they took the life of a child who never got a chance to grow up. So as a mother of 3 African-American males, that was a hard day. And that was one of those days that make you just hold on to your children a little bit tighter and recognize that, not only did I want to see them grow up, I wanted to see them grow up to be old. I know I won't see them that old, but, I wanted to see our sons grow up to have a life, to experience life. And that became a mother's prayer. But it wasn't just my prayer. That's a prayer for mothers across the United States. Mm-hmm. So I promised God on that day that if he would give me a new direction, I would follow it without question. Just give me the strength, give me the power, give me the skills to do this. So it became parent education. That was the hole. That was the hole that I saw that was missing from the soul of this country, is we have children, but we don't know how to do it. We replicate what our parents did, and in some cases that may not be good. In some cases that may be wonderful, but there needed to be a standard. So I started to investigate parent education courses, and I became really interested in active parenting. So Active Parenting Publishers, based out of Atlanta, Georgia, was formed by Dr. Michael Popkin. And Dr. Popkin subscribed to the same type of psychological principles that I loved, and that was valuing the person as a person. I don't care what you've done, value the person as a person. And when we can connect heart to heart like that, we can actually make an impact on another person's life. So his parenting program, Active Parenting, was really attractive. And I used it with my sons, our sons. And in 2 weeks, I could see a difference in their behaviors because we valued them as people, not as children, not as property, not as something that we were responsible to make into something else, but just as a human being. We could see our children as human beings who had souls, who needed nourishing. And that's how I ended up having what we call now this global impact, because I've been with that company for 27 years. And every week we train leaders to work with different families. And this program is worldwide because there's one thing that is common. If you are a parent, we have the same struggle. We have the same desires. We have the same hopes and dreams for our children. But how do we get there? And how do we get there across all cultures? And this parenting method does that. It doesn't matter where you come from. We all have teenagers who drive us crazy. We have toddlers who make us laugh. We have children who make us cry, because sometimes, you just wonder, am I doing the right thing? And so there are tears of joy, there are tears of sorrow, there are tears of frustration. But in the end, no matter what your race, no matter what your ethnicity, no matter what your gender, if you are a parent, you are going to share the same pain at some point. So we have this global community of parents called active parents.
Awesome. Awesome. I think we don't know or think that it's important to be trained. You just think, my mama didn't get trained, so she had me and she just did what she did and what she thought was right. And so here I am, and I do that to my children. But at some point, when we see that the soul of the individuals that we're raising and putting out into society isn't whole, if it's damaged, if it's angry, if it's wounded, then we got to think about what we're doing and do something absolutely different. It may be uncomfortable. It may not be what we've seen done, but at this point, with what's going on with our children, it's kind of apropos that you and I are having this discussion in this climate that's going on right now. You can just see the anger in our children, just angry like all the time, especially our young boys, our young men, angry, and that carries over into adulthood, where now they're angry husbands and they're angry boyfriends, and from that stems domestic violence, and then they end up in the prison system, and it's just so much from not being nurtured properly, and we sometimes don't know what that looks like. So something you said very key, the importance of valuing them as just human beings, period, just as human beings. So how does a person who grown up all their lives being told and even being treated that way as a child, that just go sit down, shut up, I don't want to hear your voice, you're getting on my nerves, so on and so forth, how do you go from that point to honoring the children that you seem to have been taught, and it's been modeled before you, that they're of no value until maybe they get 18, 20, 21? Then, now you're human enough for us maybe to have a conversation.
Communication is key. And it starts way before they're introduced to society. It begins at home. It begins the day that this baby is brought into the world. While you're in the hospital with this newborn, it begins by understanding the awesome responsibility that you have. This is not just a result of a hookup gone bad. This is not just after a few moments of pleasure. This is a person. God has blessed you with a life to shape and to mold. So if we haven't had an awakening before the day we give birth, that's the day to wake up. We talk about being woke. The day to be woke is the day you bring a child in this world. Because we have the responsibility to shape their responses to what's going on today. We have a responsibility to help them to understand and teach them what empathy is. Empathy is taught. We're experiencing a society right now that does not have a clue. That many of the ills that are going on in our society is because we failed to teach something very important to our children. I can't just look at you and say, I feel your pain. I've got to do something about it. And that's what America is screaming right now in this day. Don't just agree with me, fix it. And as parents, we have to fix it. I could very easily have 3 angry young Black men out there because they have been stalked by the police. They have been harassed by the police. They have been ignored by the police. But their mother was the police. So they know that that's not everybody. It's based on value systems. But when I can value you as a human being, then I don't come up with this, children need to stay in their place. Children do need to stay in their place, but we need to provide a place for them. We have to understand that children are meant to be seen, and children are meant to be heard. We all who are people of faith have heard out of the mouths of babes. And if we just listen to what those babes are saying, they will help us to shape the future that they need. So it is not just important to see a child, it's important to see a child. Not just look at them, but to see this child. When I see a child under the age of 3 that does not smile, we have a problem. Those are supposed to be the happiest people in the world. They have no cares. But when you see a baby in a grocery cart that is sad, that's a reflection upon us failing that child. When we see a child commit an adult crime, that's a reflection on us. We failed that child. It only takes one adult, one, and this is research-based. If a child has one person in their life who believes in them, they're okay.
Wow, what a statistics, just one person.
Just one.
Wow, that for me, that gives me hope. That if you can just have one person, so those who are listening, can you just commit to be that one person in a child's life that you don't know, that you don't have any responsibility for, but can you be the individual that see them? As Pamela Woods spoke, not just see, but see the soul of the individual, see what's deeper, see what the possibilities of that person can be, and not add to what has already been put on them that is of negativity, but begin to be that positive light and shift that somebody can say, you know, I don't know what's been told to you, I don't know what you've gone through, but you can make it. There's greatness on the inside of you. So I think if we all can commit to just being that person, that one person, we can change this world. Because, you know, I think what we don't realize is that these kids are our future. And, you know, we'll be 50, 60, 70 years old, and they're going to be our neighbors. And so depending on their soul is going to dictate the type of neighbors you're going to have when you're old. You want to have some neighbors when you're old that, you know, care about you, come by to see you, looking out for you, getting your grocery bags, you know, can I help you, Miss Jones, or something. You don't want
Absolutely
looking next door to take from you because they know that you're in your weak state because you're older, to take advantage of. You know, you want some neighbors next to you whose soul is well. And so I think if we begin to commit and see the importance of that, then we will do more. We'll come outside of ourselves and do what, you know, is not necessarily required of us, but it's something that we ourselves will take on because we want to see the next generation be the best that they can be. And I think what some of us don't realize is, although I may live in a great community, eventually what's going on in the bad community will come and reach my community. So we're all invested. We all have something to gain from making sure that every child's soul is well. As you were talking and just explaining to us about the importance of speaking well to our kids, acknowledging them. What do you say to young? There's a statistics that say one, I think, in every four children are living at home with a single parent. So, what do you say to a mother who, as you say, it's the most greatest responsibility, but it can be challenging, especially when it's not a two-parent home and you only have one individual trying to raise children. How do you? What are some keys, or how can you help that single mom who sometimes has to do more than what she would normally do and can get distracted sometimes with life and trying to provide for her children, that she missed really that hands-on time that's needed in order to develop the soul of her children?
It's never too late. It is never too late. If you are a single mother, if you are a person, if you are a human, the most important thing for us to do is vote. We are almost at a point where we are volunteering to be oppressed. Vote. Be interested in your community. If you're worried about your children's future, vote. The people who affect us most are in the elections that we don't show up for.
Can I say something to that?
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that what goes on at the State House, the White House, affects their house. They've never been taught that. I remember we have a youth organization, and we were trying to explain to the kids the importance of volunteering, being in your community, voting, and so on and so forth. And so a young lady said, well, I don't think that's important to me. They don't dictate how I live my life, so on and so forth.
Oh, goodness.
To myself, and I had to explain to her, why do you think we have to stop at a traffic light? Why do you think you have to go to school a certain amount of hours? Why do you think your parents have to get up and do the things they do? I said, because someone put these laws into place and decided this is how you are to live. And so, yes, they do absolutely have power and influence over your life right there at Elm Street. So, White House affects Elm Street. The State House affects Elm Street. And so we have to stand up and make our voice heard. That is so vitally important. So I'm gonna let you go on, but I don't think we realize, we think the president is the main a voting office thing that we should vote for.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have a good House of Representatives or Senate that where he's in agreement with, then he's very limited in what he can do. So it is important that we vote not just for national officials, but our state, our city, our county. We need to be involved. If it's something you got to complain about, don't complain about it. Be about it. Go
be about it.
And to change it, because it affects your children. And it affects what's going on in your house, whether you believe it or not.
And it begins with us. We have to set up democratic households. Choice is the most powerful tool that we will ever have. And when we can raise our children understanding and giving them choice, when they leave us and we can't see them, they understand how to make choices. And that's where I believe that we lose a lot of our children and young adults, because we bring them up in autocratic households. My rules or else. It's my way or the highway. Well, that's not the way the world works. You are, again, there are Art and Lorraine Bennett. They are a married couple, but they have written lots of parenting books that actually help us to understand temperament and how our temperaments feed into this. But one of the most important principles that I take from their work is there are two ships in parenting: leadership
Mm-hmm.
and relationship.
That's good.
When we can remember those two ships, we parent a different way. If I want children to understand that they have power and choice, I must raise them that way. You want oatmeal or cereal? That's a choice. Where are we going on vacation? Those are choices.
Mm-hmm.
Give children a voice. Give them democratic environments to grow up in, and then they recognize that they are not powerless, but they are powerful because democracy works. When they know that democracy works at home, we don't have to worry about them going to the poll. They'll stop. They know it's open to 7 p.m. here. You know, our children knew growing up that the polls were open to 7 p.m. As long as you were in line by 7 p.m., you had an opportunity to express your opinion in what happens in your neighborhood and who controls your local laws. If you don't like what's happening to your peers because you all are getting stopped just because you're Black, go vote. Get rid of those elected officials who only represent part of the community. Go vote. But that starts at home. I don't want scrambled eggs this morning. I may want a boiled egg. Give your child the liberty to express themselves in that manner at home. And if they come across and it's not respectful, you can make that correction right then. The most beautiful compliment, I think, to any parent is to understand that you have a respectful child. To hear that your child is respectful. To hear that your child is cooperative. To hear that your child gives their best or puts their best foot forward. It may not make or meet your expectations, but just to know that they went that far should be a compliment that makes a parent poke their chest out just a little, walk with a little older to you because, you're doing that thing. Mm-hmm. But give them the environment at home that we want our larger society to look like. Tell me what you think. If my child can stand up to me and say, you know what, this 9 o'clock curfew don't make sense. That takes courage for a child to disagree with a parent. Just remember the power that we have as parents. And it every time I hear George Floyd calling out for his mother, I think about the power of the parental relationship. They're attached to us by an umbilical cord for 9 months. But there's an invisible cord for life. They don't forget that. They don't forget that. And when we can have that type of relationship and we can give them the type of environment that they want to have outside the home, then we have really done something. So democracy within the household leads to understanding democracy outside the front door.
That was good. And so I want to clarify what she's saying. She's not saying go vote Democratic.
No party affiliation, period.
She's not talking about parties. She's just talking about giving people choice. That's what our democracy is about. We have the choice to choose whether we want to be Republican, independent, or Democratic. So we're not saying go out and make the household a Democratic household. No, that's not what we're saying. Just in case you all didn't need some clarity on that.
Thank you for clearing that up.
You mentioned Mr. Floyd. I myself personally have not watched the video. I don't want to take myself there, because for me it would be too much. I think we here in Birmingham, I think one of the most traumatic things that happened to me happened probably October, November, where a young baby was taken, and her name was Cupcake, and it was a national thing around there. And that thing
I
really
remember that.
got me really bad because two weekends I was looking at some real estate property exactly where she was murdered, and I had gone there 2 weekends back to back. And I'm just bringing this up because I'm an intercessor, and a lot of times my steps are being ordered to pray for things. And I was just so in tune with the real estate that I felt like I missed an assignment because I went 2 Saturdays back to back, and the next Saturday was when it happened. And that thing just got me to a place. It just really got me. And so I'm just like, then COVID and all that has just been too much. So I you have to know yourself. I cannot watch that at this moment. I hear some of the things that are being said and that are going on in respect to Mr. Floyd. It is nothing that is new. It's just that it was recorded, and how it was recorded, it touched the hearts of the nation, of the world. And it has shifted us in a way that we haven't never seen before. It has done something that many things have happened. As we have Trayvon, we have a lot of things that have happened, but it hasn't touched the heart of men the way this did. And so, God's ways are not always our ways, and we don't understand that. But when you talked about him calling out for his mother, we are our children's safeguard, and it's nothing more debilitating for a parent not to be able to take care of and protect their children. I tell people, I'm a short lady, but if you mess with mine, that's, so, and probably every mother is just like that. There's just something about messing with our kids that we have to, especially when you're Christians, you have to remember whose you are, so that you can operate accordingly and not mess up your witness, but we love our kids. We love our kids. Most people love our kids, and we want to do everything in the world we can to protect them. So for us as African American parents, the conversations that we have to have with our children is unreal. Like, to have a conversation, we don't even know what that's doing to our kids' soul, to tell them, because you are Black at these ages, that we have to have these conversations with them. What can we do to protect their souls? Because we don't know if it's creating fear. We don't know if it's helping or if it's harming the situation, when we have to have these hard conversations with young kids who are not necessarily ready to handle certain things.
We have to listen. We have to listen. We have 3 grandchildren who are processing this all different ways. To listen, we have 3 grandchildren who are processing this differently. The 9, soon to be 10-year-old, she's excited about going into the double digits. She had her first confrontation with race a few years ago, when she came home and just fell apart because she realized she was the darkest person in her classroom. And I'm like, really? Are we still dealing with this in 2020? Or that was 2018. Are we still dealing with this? So her experience of race, the other 2 had never gone through. And I don't know what happened that day to make it such an earth-shattering event for her, but that broke her heart. So we have to talk to her on her terms. So we listen. We have a couple of 13-year-olds. One's male, one's female. One is fine. The other one's afraid and angry at the same time. And it's like, why are you angry? Because I don't like being disrespected. The question that this child asked me one day after he got in trouble at school, he's like, why do I have to respect adults and they don't respect me? At my same that was my same reaction. It's like, oh my goodness, I cannot answer this question. He went right to the heart and soul of the problem. You want respect from me, but you don't respect me. And it, it brought back one of those things that we are when we talk about leadership. We lead by example. If the world smacks me in the face, my response to that is going to be their example of how to respond to it. So if I trip out, I have just taught them that your response to an injustice is to trip out. So right now, parents around the world have a fabulous opportunity to create peace. We have an awesome opportunity to change our world right now through peace. And understanding that we are shaping value systems, and value systems are what shape incidents. If I value you, not because I know you, but just because you have a heart, you have lungs, you have life, and it is not my right to extinguish that. I didn't give you life. I cannot take your life. When we can plant that basic value system within our children and nourish that, tomorrow's going to look very different. I was really hopeful after all the years that I worked with families and after all the years that I have sat and observed young children, I was really happy that Dr. King's dream was coming true. Our babies don't see color. We do. We messed it up for them. There was an example of this when I say they don't see color. Kids were out on the field playing. They had a good time. They won the game. They were just enjoying, celebrating. And one person mentioned, that's the only little black boy on the team. Now, none of these kids knew that. We brought racism into the conversation. They played a game. They were a team. They worked together. They had a successful outcome. No color was in that until we brought color into the conversation. And it's like, those kids didn't see color. And if we would just let them let them live among each other, in a few short years, we would see a totally different world because we would step out of the way. I've had my struggle. I've had prejudice thrown at me. I've had those fights, but that's not their fight. I went through that to prevent them from going through that. So let's stop feeding it.
What you said was just so powerful. It confirmed a lot of things. I was kind of second guessing myself. My daughter is now 32. She just graduated from law school. And
congratulations.
Thank you. We were having a conversation in reference to race, and my personal experience as a child, I can remember in kindergarten, first grade, that I was going to a school, just, I guess, when we were beginning to integrate. I was like with majority whites. And I could just remember, I could still see it vividly, this little girl on the playground, and basically a lot of times playing by herself. But she was the only African American, in the class, and probably in the entire kindergarten, first grade. And I remember a story my mom told me that she had purchased this watch, and they told my mother that I had stole the watch, and she was pissed because she's like I can't buy my daughter a watch, um, and that was my only experience as a child that I remember with racism. But then the majority of my years I spent in school with people of my own race. But when I got older and began to enter the workforce is where I saw the racism. But because I had a skill that put me into arenas where I was, again, the only African American. And so I had firsthand experience to see how that operated, how that worked. And I didn't like it at all. Because I came from a community that built us up and helped us to understand who we were. We weren't about anyone. No one was better than we were. We were just as good as anyone else, you know. So you enter into these different arenas where people want you to feel that you are less than, and your soul just cannot give them that because that's not true to you, you know. And so in raising my kids, what I did not do was talk about race. We didn't have conversations about that. And so my daughter was just talking to me literally yesterday about this. She was saying, you know, Mom, you know, I didn't grow up with that. So I never had an attitude of where they were better than me. Like I never had any issues with that. She said, and I think that was the thing that kept me from really, you know, kept me kind of out of the anger of racism and all of that, because I just, you know, I'm a human, they're human, you know, nobody's better than the other person. And she said it's because I didn't grow up with hearing, you know, what the white person did and they blah, 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 blah. And when she was saying it, I was kind of thinking, well, was that good or was that bad? But when you said that, it just kind of helped me to understand that it was a good thing that I did not raise her up like that, because what she said happened was in her adult years, though, when she experienced it, it wasn't, she didn't take it personal. She didn't feel less than because of, you know, she had grown up thinking white people are better than you or white people think they're better than you. She didn't have that reference point. So when they did it, it was like, you know, whatever. You know, it didn't affect her. It wasn't a bowing moment for her. It wasn't a hurt moment for her. And it wasn't an angry moment for her. You know, it was just the individual, whoever they are right now, they just don't, you know, they lost their mind.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, they out of their mind, you know, like, you know, we all have those moments and you just get moving, you know. So I love what you said, and hopefully parents will hear the importance of just not kind of bringing it up. Some things you just have to not necessarily like sweep under the rug, but you, when you speak of certain things, you give it power, more power than it should. Than you should give. And some things you just like, whatever, and you just keep it moving. It don't even deserve my time. You know, my kids are wonderful. They're great. They have the same ability, potential to be great as anyone else. In fact, some of their DNA makes them have more than, you know, others. I'm not going to say unfortunately, it just is what it is. And so I have to, those are the things that I have to bring to the table. Those are the things that I need to highlight. I need to highlight the good of the things. Not saying that I'm just acting like it's not there. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But to empower them, first of all, then we can talk about some other stuff. But my job right now is to make sure that this individual knows who they are. And helping them know who they are is not bringing into what other people don't think that they are.
That's right. That's right. So you're parenting. You are parenting from the heart. And so you are allowing your children to have their experiences. But what I'm hearing is you're also what we call an askable parent. Your children feel comfortable coming to you to express themselves. And this is all we're trying to do across the world, is just give children the space. Give them the space to shape their own value systems, which are secondary to our value systems, or not secondary. Let's just say we don't influence our children's values solely based upon our experiences. But we as parents have been empowered because we're a different generation. We have, and even though as a whole, We may feel like we have not made progress. We have. We haven't made the progress that needs to be made, but we have made progress. And I don't want that to be lost in our conversation. Mm-hmm. We are further along than we ever have been. It's just not uniform. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to see that there are little pockets here and there where progress has been made. But we really, as a society, progress when we empower our children, when we realize that our role is to model for them appropriate behavior. Yeah, I can disagree with you, but I don't have to disagree with you violently or disrespectfully, but we can still disagree. Mm-hmm. We just have to agree to disagree. Mm-hmm. Your opinion is just as much value as my opinion, mm-hmm. and our opinions don't match. So how can we meet in the middle? Then we start to teach them negotiation skills. Mm-hmm. We start to teach them how to behave when you face resistance. You don't have to face resistance with force. You can resist peacefully and from the heart. So a lot of even our publications from active parenting have hearts on there, because the message that we want to get across to parents is we're not always going to agree eye to eye with our children, mm-hmm. but we must always agree heart to heart. I must consider your feelings. I must consider your value systems. I must consider you as a person. Even in disagreement, I must be that respectful. I must be that mindful. And if we're going to talk, and this is what really bites me, it's when I hear people talking about it takes a village. Well, don't talk about the village, be the village. Let's not talk about it. Let's be the village. Mm-hmm. This is why I'm saying, if you see a child that's not smiling, there's something wrong, because children don't have anything to worry about. They should not have anything to worry about. Now, they may be hungry. They may be without power, electricity, I mean. Those are things that we, the adults, can fix. I don't have to know this family to see their struggle. And if I can help in any way, the good in me should be able to reach out to the pain in thee. So I have the power to be a catalyst for change. Mm-hmm. I have the power to make life better for one child. And by making life better for one child, the future just got a little brighter, mm-hmm. because that child just realized that there's some good somewhere, mm-hmm. in this world. And they pass it forward. You know, we can pay it forward every single day. Every single day that I wake up and I hit a light switch that turns on, I pick up a phone that has a dial tone, I go to a refrigerator that has food that hasn't spoiled because the power was out. I'm not being forced out of my house by eviction notice. Every day that I wake up with those simple advantages, I am empowered to be able to help someone else wake up that same way. Because somebody is not. Somebody's waking up with no electricity. Somebody does not have running water in their home. Somebody has no food. Somebody has no hope. Even without a dime in my pocket, I can be a catalyst for change.
Yeah, I totally agree, because you may not have the resources, but you know someone that does. That is so important. Sometimes we're so in tune with our own lives that we miss the people that pass us by every day, to see just how we can save. Like, we can't save the world, but we can help somebody. As you were speaking, there are a couple of things that came to mind that I wanted to kind of piggyback on. You talked about the importance of communication. When we don't communicate well with our kids, it causes them not to be able to communicate well outside of our homes. I remember being at a restaurant. Sitting across from me was a coach who was interviewing two young men, one African American and one white, and he was just talking about the university and wanting to know if it would be a good fit and just asking them about their goals and just a gamut of questions. And so what I noticed was after when he would finish a question, the African American young man would take the cup and start sipping on it. And he did it a number of times. And what I realized is he didn't know how to answer the questions. He didn't know how to communicate. But the white American, he just was speaking, communicating, talking, normally, because that's what he had experienced and grew up with, being able to talk to his parents, talk to his village. His voice wasn't muffled. And so if anything that I would love for you all to take from this interview is, do not allow the voice of your children to be muffled, to be killed, to be destroyed, because you didn't understand. Hopefully, if you've done it, you see the effect that it has on it, and that you begin to do some things different. As Ms. Woods said, it's never too late. But if you're new to parenting, just remember, don't take away their voice. Give them the ability to be able to talk to you and have communication. I remember when I was raising my son, I would tell him, I don't mind you coming talking to me, but when I'm disciplining you, there's a time to do it. Like if you're being disciplined, that's not the time. Come back to me afterwards and let's have a conversation about it and say to me, Mom, that's not what happened. Mom, you misunderstood it. And I can say, well, please forgive me, because that's what I thought. It gives me the opportunity to come back and say where I missed it, but not during the discipline time. So I gave him the parameters to always be able to talk to me about anything, but there was always a time and to do it in a respectful manner. So your children's voice is not to be muzzled, is not to be shut up, be quiet. Allow them to speak. I know they ask a gazillion questions because they're young. Their mind the slate is it doesn't have a whole lot, and they're just trying to fill it up with knowledge and things to understand the life that they're living. And you are their teacher. So when they're coming asking questions, if you don't have the answer, tell them, I don't know, let's look it up, let's Google it or whatever. Or if it's not a good time, say, hey, let's table this, let's get back to it, can we talk about it in an hour or so? But don't make them feel that their voice is not important. Ms. Woods, can you please talk to us a little bit about that?
About communication,
yes, just the importance of not shutting up their voice. I know that we talked about that, a little earlier, but can you just expound? I think it is so key and important that kids recognize that their voice, it matters. So maybe help the parents understand the importance that your child's voice matters.
The child's voice most definitely matters. And as a parent, we have to learn to communicate with our children on what we call 3 channels. Mm-hmm. The words they say, the body language that they use, mm-hmm. and their tone of voice. And we miss that sometimes, mm-hmm. because we don't know how to pay attention. When a child comes and asks if they can talk to a parent, stop what you're doing. And if you can't stop what you're doing right then because you're in the middle of responding to your boss, say, give me 5 seconds to finish typing this email. And then when you give them that 5 seconds, stop what you're doing and pay attention to your child. When they're talking, look at their eyes. Mm-hmm. Children have a way to reveal to you their soul through their eyes. Mm-hmm. They may be saying, I'm fine. Be attuned to they're not.
Yes.
Listen to their tone of voice. I'm fine. But their tone of voice is saying, I'm in pain. Look at their body language that says, I'm fine. but their body language is revealing to you that they're broken. They're distraught. That's probably one of the things that our children can't really stand about me, is because I will say, I need to see you. I need to visually see if you're okay. Because if you're telling me you're okay and I'm saying you're not okay, there's where I need to go. So when we learn to communicate with our children, we learn to put ourselves in the back seat and let them drive. They're going to take us wherever they need to go in the conversation when they realize that we're going to ride with them without judgment. And sometimes they don't even want advice. They just want to be heard. Just listen. And if they ask you to help, help. This is about relationship. You know, any of us who have spouses or significant others, and we're female, we know the first thing a man wants to do is fix it. I didn't ask you to fix my problem. I just asked you to hear my problem. And the children come about this the same way. I didn't ask you to fix it. I just ask you to hear my pain and then tell me what I can do to fix my pain. Because they want to be capable. They want to be empowered. And that's what we as parents want to do for them. I want you to communicate to me as clearly as you can what is going on. And if you want my help, I'm always here to give it. But if you just need an ear, I've always got one. I've got two. God bless me with two. 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen more, talk less.
So I think what we're saying is not, saying don't be active and just let your kids to be rambunctious, do what they want to do, so on and so forth, say what they want to say. That's not what we're saying. We're saying, first of all, you be a model before them of what needs to be seen. That more than anything, they become what they behold, not what you say. So if you begin to model that, then for the most part, they'll kind of piggyback on what you're doing. At the same time, you're there to be a guide, not just to just let them believe anything, say anything, no, but to kind of explain life a little better on their terms at their level so that they can make wise decisions when they're not with you. Because we know today our kids spend more time elsewhere than they do with us. And so those moments that we have with them, we need to make sure that our influence is strong in their lives, so that when they are out there in the world, they know how to make wise choices, because what they do in the world comes back home. It affects us as parents. It affects it affects the entire village. They go out there and make mistakes and do something wrong or bring embarrassment, bring shame. It's not just going to be on them. It comes back to the entire community of their lives, from their parents to the grandparents to uncles and aunts, siblings, and so on and so forth. So we want to encourage you to just continue or to shift. Some of us we need to shift, and we need to change to make sure that our children have great futures, because that's what their creator has destined for them to have in their lives. And he's just entrusting us to be stewards to help that manifest and become so. Ms. Woods, I appreciate you taking the time to share with us about parenting. Actually, you probably can just do something with us every day, because we know as parents we're missing the mark. We need to be educated. We need to, first of all, admit, I really don't know what I'm doing. Honestly, I'm on a wing and a prayer, just hoping that whatever this is going to work out. But we don't have to always operate like that. We can just get some knowledge, and I think what you're doing is giving us some knowledge. I actually came across you because I was interviewing Exum Lawson, and he was talking about his blended family, and it's something I didn't get a chance to even touch on, but that's huge. I want to bring you back, because that's a beast in itself, coming together as a blended family, learning how to love another man's child or another woman's child, and just so we can be unified, because the whole point of the matter is that we raise these children whole. So I would
Yes.
love to get you back and just let that be our focus about blended families, because we know that it looks like, for the most part, it will become majority if we don't stop just, jumping here, there, and everywhere. And kind of just settle down with one person, so we definitely need some information and some knowledge on how to bring this thing together, so all these baby mamas and daddy, mom, all that stuff, we know how to navigate well, so we can raise these children well with our bad choices.
I like the way you put that.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yes, they don't need to be less than because we made some bad choices. And so what that requires, I think, is four mature individuals coming together, understanding that the child is the most important person in this relationship, and that we all have to set aside our immature ways and become mature so that they can have a productive whole life. I want to get you back really soon to talk about that, because that's a pandemic. Yes, it is. And I'm not talking about anybody. I have a blended family myself. So I should know. Thank God that I was able to raise kids well in the midst of that circumstance and situation. But today, I had a good village. I had a good mother who was very strict, and I used to hate that about her. But what she put inside of me helped me to be able to navigate that. And so today, a lot of us we're very young, not just young in age, but young in what we have in common sense, and young in what we have in just knowledge, And so we need somebody to help us. We need somebody to help us. First of all, we need somebody to just help us to know we're not just supposed to be having relations with everybody, we don't, and we don't think about it when we're young, the impact that it's going to have on our future. When I'm 18, 19, it's fun, but then when I get this baby and I'm 26, and now I decided I found the woman of my dreams or the man of my dreams, and I got another child, and I'm bringing this into the situation, or my money can't just stay at my household because I got other children here and I got to take care of them. That's a pandemic. We need to have these hard conversations and educate. It's too late for us. We've done it. But what we can do is help our children and have the hard conversations with them and tell them, I should know better than anybody that what I'm saying is accurate and true.
From experience.
Listen, sometimes it's not because people actually do the thing. Sometimes it's you learn from people what not to do, and you learn from people what to do. And so we have to have conversations with our kids and say, I promise you, this is not what you want to do. I promise you. And so I would love to have you back so that you can share with us. We're in it now. For those who are in it, how do we walk through it well? Because it's doable. It can be done. There are many people who are doing it. But some of us, we are fighting out in the streets, cutting up on Facebook, all that stuff. It's unnecessary. We just need a little knowledge, and I think you have it, and I would love to have you back to talk about this hard conversation. Before we close this out, do you have anything that you want to leave with us from our talk today about just being parents?
Yes, I would. I would want our parents to understand that there is truly a difference between discipline and punishment.
Okay.
And that might be another whole conversation. But, when we discipline our children, we teach them the ways we want them to behave. When we punish our children, we beat them for the ways in which they have behaved. There's a difference. The education comes first, even when we have to correct.
Okay, I was just going to say, so you mean we don't supposed to punish, but we're supposed to do, first we're supposed to discipline. And then after discipline, if that doesn't work, then that's when the punishment comes in.
No, we're supposed to discipline. We don't punish.
Don't punish at all?
We don't punish. God punishes. Our Creator punishes.
Uh-huh. So how do you?
We have been entrusted with these blessings
Mm-hmm.
to teach them the way, the truth, and the light.
Mm-hmm.
His responsibility is to punish. When we can get that in order,
Mm-hmm.
then we learn that discipline teaches our children how we expect them to behave. Even when they misbehave, we don't punish, we discipline. We
So,
connect that misbehavior to a lesson, and we teach the gentle way. We don't have to beat our children into submission. We just need to teach them. So if there was anything, especially that I want to get across to parents, is learn how to discipline and let go of punishment.
so no rod of correction. No rod of correction.
There is correction. You know, when you think about the rod has been spoken about in two different ways.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about the 23rd Psalm,
Mm-hmm.
the rod is a comforter.
Mm-hmm.
The rod is our comfort. So even when I am wrong, my parent teaches me how to be right. Society is going to punish.
Mm-hmm.
I need my babies to know that love resides in our household. And even when you're wrong, I'm not going to agree with you because you're wrong, but I am going to help you see what's right.
So are you saying that there are no repercussions for bad behavior or misbehavior in the
Not saying
family?
that at all.
Saying
Not
this,
saying that at all.
okay, so help us understand. Say, for instance, little Johnny, so we can be clear. Little Johnny, I've told him about 20 times.
Who you get ready to come on with a 22? I knew you would hit me with that.
I told little Johnny 20 times about keeping that room clean. We had this conversation. You know, I've taught him and we talked. Little Johnny just does not get it. So how is a parent to handle little Johnny? No punishments, because we can toss that out. So how do you discipline little Johnny for just insisting on not keeping that room clean?
Okay, when you walk in little Johnny's room and you see the beginnings, because most little Johnnies have a beginning to their destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And it just adds up over days.
Mm-hmm.
So when we walk in on day one and little Johnny's room is clean, we're going to celebrate little Johnny in just the highest ways. We're going to let him know, because see, children equate like with love. So when we show them that we really like the way their room looks, and this is just what we're talking about, and you are just so fantastic, let's go out and celebrate this. This is not a bribe. This is a celebration. Then the next time we ask little Johnny to clean up his room, he's going to clean it up with a different mindset, because they really liked what I did. So then the next time we come in and little Johnny's room is messed up, we're just going to give them a polite request to clean up their room. And chances are they're going to do it. But if they don't, then we're going to come back and we're going to associate some consequences to them not cleaning up the room. Because we know that somewhere in the kitchen is a invitation on their refrigerator for a birthday party that little Johnny is excited about going to. And we may not say anything at that moment. But when the next day rolls around and little Johnny's room is still a mess, well, we can't go to the birthday party because you didn't keep up one of our family values, which was to have a clean home. Now, once little Johnny misses that birthday party, that's going to sting a little bit more than any spanking or any other kind of correction you could have come up with. Now, that's discipline.
I love it. I love it. I absolutely agree with that. See, I wasn't raised like that, though. You know,
me either.
You're going to get beat. You
me
know,
either. You're right.
You're going to get beat. And so I can't say that I beat my kids a lot. They were pretty good kids. But, you know, if you did, that was just, you know, it had to be like after a number of times that was going to be the consequence. But I love what you said, and when it just resonated so well with me that once he did it properly, to celebrate that. And you're absolutely right. Our kids, you know, we weren't taught to. Our parents didn't celebrate nothing we did. All they felt like is you better had.
Yeah.
There ain't no celebration. What celebrate what?
You did what you were supposed to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's so important that we take those moments to let kids know, you know, that was wonderful what you did. And it builds their confidence. And it does make, and we can think about ourselves. Like when we have people accolading and praising what we do, we love that. It makes us want to do it all the time and do it better. And so definitely I could see how that works with our children. So parents, I'm glad we didn't end the interview. I'm glad she gave us those little nuggets so y'all can stop beating little Johnny.
Thank you.
No more punishment. No, let's discipline little Johnny, you know, so we don't mess with little Johnny's soul and he think that he got to go out there and beat on people because his mom
there you go.
On him. I absolutely love it. Yeah, so it looks like we need to have you maybe once a month to have a conversation to just talk about areas like discipline, because we it's in our minds. That's what we did, and so, you know, hey, it worked for me. I turned out okay, so why don't I just keep on going with that? But we got to do something different if we want something different, you know, and especially in this climate, our children definitely need to have a haven, a place where they come and they are celebrated. They know that they are accepted. They know that they're going to be protected. And that's the type of homes that we need to create. And even when you talked about the values of our home, the value system of our family, we need to talk about that. We don't even tell our children these are the value systems of our family. We don't even know what that looks like. What does that mean, value system? You know, so we need to have that conversation as well. And I'm going to get with you to see how we can maybe get you maybe once a month to just talk about an area of parenting that can help us. And I know that because of it, we're going to be so much better. We're going to produce these amazing, they're already amazing kids, but amazing whole kids that's full of life, smiling, loving life, excited about life, you know, excited about their family and their village, ready to change their community, because Miss Woods took the time out to talk to us once a month on the Josilyn Drake Show about not beating little Johnny. And I thank you so much, because Ms. Woods, I'm telling you, look, Johnny, I have to even catch myself today with my nieces and everybody else, because you know, my mom, she just did not play. Beat was the thing. When you didn't do what she wanted you to do, that was her go-to. And so it definitely, it scars us, and we don't even recognize that, and it messes with our soul in some form or fashion. And so thank you for that last tidbit. And again, I'm going to get with you to see how we can schedule, are you coming on, or maybe I can come into a session that you have, one of your global sessions, and maybe record, or I don't know, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Yes, but thank you once again. You all, thank you for tuning into the Josilyn Drake Show. I know a lot of you may be looking, especially my mama or my grandmother or your mama, somebody looking like, what are they talking about? That is not how you raise kids. You beat them.
No, I upset the mamas and the grandmamas. I know I did.
But no, Mama, we love you. We thank you for what you've done, but we're going to do something different.
We just want something different. That's all.
We're going to do something different. So you guys, thank you again, once again, for tuning into the Josilyn Drake Show. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.